Hey, all my Gemini friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your July 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Gemini, I'm talking about Gemini being the first house. This is also applicable to Gemini moon and Gemini sun. And if you have 3 or more planets in the sign of Gemini, this video is also applicable for you. When I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. Let's jump right in because the month starts off with a bit of a bang. Your ruling planet Mercury is in the final degrees of Cancer. This is your second house. It's the house uh, that represents your childhood support in the form of your confidence, in the form of your trust in your talents and your skills and your ability to create the things you want, your own money, your own sense of security. It rules family history, the second house. It rules your talents. It rules your voice. And here we see Mercury, your ruling planet, in the very last degrees, making an opposition to Pluto. Now, this is going to, and Pluto is in your ninth house. The ninth house rules foreign people, foreign places, and things of higher nature, like philosophies and ideologies and PhDs and things like that. But at the same time, it rules business and commerce, and it rules publishing and branding and marketing and writing. And here in Aquarius, it feels very much as if it's giving you an opportunity to really do a deep dive into your belief system about if you can create the things that you want. The Aquarius energy is not only futuristic, not only representing space and astrology and technology and the World Wide Web, it represents your hopes and your dreams. And Pluto is giving you an opportunity to revisit the depth, the really deep parts of your hopes and your dreams. Oftentimes, people's hopes and dreams are really based on their experiences and the viability that they can see of wanting something. Sometimes, once we leave those childhood years of fun and fantasy, we don't allow for that. We go more into a practical place, which is very much what a Mercury can represent. So there's an opposition going on between your second house and your ninth house. So what I can create versus what I believe I can create or what I've experienced I can create. This is the first opposition that we'll experience to Pluto this month. We'll also experience Venus doing that, and then the sun as the month progresses. So it's almost like a set of waves, giving us a varying levels of awareness about how we think about our self-worth and how we project our ambition out into the world. Now, I see layers and layers in the chart. Those of you that watch me often know that. So I can't help but notice on this very first day of the month that Mercury's at 28 degrees, which is the Cancerian degree, but it also reduces down to a 10. Pluto's at 1 degree. Then we have Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. The 29 reduces down to an 11. We have Saturn at 19 degrees, just starting the retrograde. It will be at 19 degrees for about 6 weeks. This 19 degrees reduces down to a 10. The nodes are at 11 degrees in their axis. The sun is at 10 degrees on the first day of the month. This is illuminating our awareness of our thoughts, our focused thoughts. Where do we put our mind? Contemplating something seems rational and normal, but we tend to, as humans, we focus on the dark side, on the hard side, on the possibilities of what could go wrong versus what could go right. All of this is being illuminated throughout the month, and you'll see that demonstrated through these degrees as we move forward. Let me go to the next day when we see that Neptune is now retrograde. And when I click on it, this is Neptune making aspects to Uranus and making aspects to Pluto. This is a sextile. These planets, they are going to sing like a song in the background of our lives over the next 2 years. These planets are going to, in tandem, sextile each other as they change signs. So Pluto will retrograde into Capricorn, then it will, which is your 8th house, then it will move back into Aquarius. Neptune will retrograde in its domicile, Pisces, and move into Aries in March of 2025. And then I think 4 years later, maybe, I don't have the dates for Uranus, but then Uranus is going to move into Gemini. And these sextiles will continue. The deep dive that you do right now with your ruling planet here, looking, now we've moved into the Leo energy as well, following the heart, following your soul, having the courage to do so, while it is in opposition to this deeply psychological Pluto. Pluto rules criminals, and most criminals, when they're good at their job, they know how to use your fears against you. So this is going to illuminate your fears, but then also give you an opportunity to find the divinity within them. And in doing so, Neptune is supporting that liberation, that, kind of thinking out in the future, but in a way that supports your hopes and your dreams. And this is further evidenced by the trine between Uranus and Pluto. So there's going to be a theme this month of looking at how we think, looking at how we use our minds to project into the future. And is the mind supporting? We see that Venus is in a lovely aspect to Saturn retrograde, being exactly 19 degrees. That's also the Libra degree of creating balance. And this would be balance for how I perceive my ability to make money, to feel flow, to feel a sense of security, to feel a sense of connectedness, a sense of home, support. And we see the sun is now at 11 degrees. This is to me, just the ones that I see reducing here are just like almost like a neon sign, just blinking in my mind. Don't try to wrestle your thoughts, just have an awareness of them, and then ask yourself, do they really serve what I want to experience, or do they take me back to an old story? Let's go now to the new moon in Cancer on the 5th. And this is going to happen at 3:57 p.m. Again, in your 2nd house, planting the seeds for something that you want, something that's very heartfelt, something that uses your talents and your skills. And those skills may be one of nurturing, but they also may be your intuitive knowing. They may be the healer within you. We see that the new moon is making a favorable aspect to Saturn. So it's offering some wisdom. It's also, Saturn is asking for structure, meaning, okay, you plant the seeds for this new moon, but now your participation in co-creation is to nurture those seeds, not necessarily looking at how quickly those seeds will start to sprout, but rather allowing for it. We also see that there is a square to this new moon to your 5th house of the South Node in your 5th house of your personal expression and your pleasure and your fun and your entertainment. And this is the house where the soul in the physical body has matured enough and assimilated enough to start to have personal preferences and want to express the magical things that they felt as a toddler. All toddlers get to have microphones and sing, and they're applauded whether they're good or bad. But the older the body gets and the more adult it looks, the more people tend to allow criticism to stop them, or a sense of needing to be cooperative to a bigger picture. So there could be a tension on something for you about what you want. There could also be, if you're looking to create a home and a family, and that is what you truly want, you could inadvertently be thinking, that's not possible because I haven't experienced it yet, so it's not there for me. The 5th house is the conception of children and romance. Then we see this square to the North Node, and that North Node in Aries is in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. And I'm sorry, yes, your 11th house of hopes and dreams. It's also a house that matures over time as you individualize your broader thoughts and you move yourself into the future rather than staying in your history. So we see that the theme of the ones is still going on in the nodal structure and in Saturn's energy. Excuse me while I take a sip of my water. The other thing that I think is important during this moon is this growing conjunction between Mars and Uranus. This is interesting because Gemini, Mars is about to enter your first house. And in doing so, it's the first time in 2 years. The last time it spent 7 months back and forth. And it was not fun at first. Mars was learning a lot about how it interacted with the community, with people, how it spoke, how he spoke, how this very brave yet very brash energy was interacting with others. So on this the new moon, we see Mars at 19 degrees, echoing this tens again, and allowing us an opportunity to be brave in our assessment of how we can reframe how we see the future. The challenge with Gemini is that it goes a little bit back and forth. It's like it literally rules the monkey mind, because there's this sort of so many little bits of information and sort of, they call Mercury's the messenger, right? So Mercury's gathering information and then, dispensing it. And I don't know that I don't want to say people don't retain information, but there's just something there that could inadvertently trip you up having too many bits of information. Now Mars in your 12th house is offering some sort of liberation from any imprints, any soul ancestral energies on a soul level, as well as ancestral energies on a DNA level. Again, Taurus rules the family and the family experience. So we're going to see this conjunction growing, and we're starting to feel it here on this new moon. And it could make you itchy for liberation, itchy to move the story forward, itchy to experience something new, even potentially moving your story forward in business. We see Jupiter is transiting your first house. It's currently making a beautiful aspect to the South Node. And it's making nice aspects to Mercury and to the North Node. So this to me is sort of planting the seeds for an expansion of some kind in how you're perceiving things. Thinking maybe you're going from, I never get past this place in business. I never get past this number. And then you start thinking, well, maybe the universe has something bigger in mind for me. And then from that place, you can even expand upon that. Because I think while Jupiter is considered in detriment in your first house, it's the furthest away from its home. Jupiter's a natural world traveler. So the place it has the most to learn, to garnish, is in Gemini. And while there are tedious details and, Jupiter likes to see big, broad concepts that, that are lofty in some ways, this is a nice balancing energy for Jupiter. And I think Mars's entry ultimately towards the end of the month into Gemini will reflect the braveness to expand our thoughts. It's not about trying to give away the practicality or the things that Mercury has to offer, but it's also about discernment. So I think that's going to come into play. We also see Saturn making a nice little trine to Venus and to the new moon. So this is supporting here. Now the square and a half to Mercury is just sort of, again, what I think is the push and pull between what feels practical and realistical and logical and solid from an earthly perspective, and what the divine laws of the universe know inherently that cannot be seen with any of the five senses. We know just because of the animal kingdom how limited the human eyesight is. There are creatures that have much greater sight than we do. And so often all we ever do is see the future related to this limited eyesight. So this is interesting. And it's only the first week of the month. All right, let's go to the 11th, when Venus will have her opposition with Pluto as she enters the very fun and frivolous, and I say that in a summertime beach day vibration, Leo. All right, here we go. So, when Leo is experiencing Venus, usually for the most part, this is a lot of fun. This is, summertime. It's barbecues, hanging out, going to concerts, and just really, feeling all that good stuff. But as she enters this sign, there's sort of this, when I look at the 0 degree, I almost feel, and the 8 seconds happens to be right now, 8 minutes. I mean, it feels very much like she is, oh, and look, Pluto is at 1 degree and 8 minutes. So that's no accident. So thoughts of transformation, thoughts of how I can use my talents and my skills to make money. The 8th house, Scorpio, other people's money, other people, clients, then, patrons, fans, those kind of things. And we're still seeing the ones running around in the background. We can see the nodes are still at 10 degrees. We can see the sun is at 19 degrees. Look at Jupiter's at 10 degrees. We see, these two planets are going to remain at these degrees for, most of the month. Saturn will move to 18 degrees, but this is a predominant background energy. It's playing like a soundtrack, as if you walked into an office building and there's music playing over the overhead speakers, but you really don't listen to it because it's music. Well, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are all singing together in a big band in the background, and they're calling forth change. And as they move into the new signs, sequentially over the next couple of years, we're going to feel a real pull to those new energies of liberation, of self, of understanding the self, and understanding that the mind is a valuable tool for creation, that we are truly energetic beings that attract. And if we overthink something in a negative or in a challenging or in a arduous way, we tend to bring that experience to us, because the computer known as the universe doesn't differentiate. It just takes in the information and then delivers the experience. On this day, we also see Saturn making a trine to the sun. So there are thoughts, how my ambition, what heals my soul. We have the second house here for you, Gemini. And that second house is going to be somewhere where using your skills, your talents, your voices is a healing factor for you as well as others. And then your third house activity here, Leo, is going to light up with the possibilities of having a lot more, I want to say viewership almost. I really kind of want to do that because of the Jupiter energy in your first house. There could be a large expansion or you could start producing more content or enjoying more content creation, as well as more fun in your social life. All right, let's go over to the 15th, where we see the exact conjunction between Mars and Uranus. And I kind of feel like this could be a polarizing day, because those that are living unconsciously could really have a meltdown. There could be, historic issues that go on, that have been going on, that just reach ahead unexpectedly. These two planets in their most challenging vibration are very rebellious and out of nowhere. It's like, militia type thing. But, here I am looking at the numbers again. So we see this is conjunctions at 26 degrees. And then we see Mars is at 28 minutes and Uranus is at 19 minutes. Again, our ones are showing up, 10 and 10. Now, Spirit knows that when I do these videos, I keep it on 12 o'clock, because that's what we all use or default to in a birth chart when we don't know the time of birth. And that's why I use it. So Spirit, this is not an accident that this is happening, because those that are standing in awareness of their thoughts, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be positive. They just get to be aware. Is this thought serving the story I want to experience, or is it inadvertently playing to a story that I've lived and experienced and perceive as reality? This is going to blow this up. I also want to say that if there are people around you that irritate you, family members or teammates or workmates, this may not be a good time to engage with them on any deep level, because there may be upsets. Now, we also see that Jupiter's moved to the 11th degree. We see that we have a quincunx from Mercury to Saturn. So there's the potential on this day that old habits come into play, or old relationships that can trigger, sometimes you get around people that have known you your whole life, and even though you're like a grown person, they bring out the child in you, and sometimes it's not a good child, it's a petulant child, it's a pissed off child. This is a potential on this day. And your awareness, the 19th degree, reducing down to a 10, not to mention that it is also the Libra degree of harboring peace and harmony and civility and diplomacy, gives life to the trine to Chiron, gives an opportunity to transform the wound into a gift. And I want to offer it this way, Gemini, because it's a personal experience. Chiron is a personal opportunity in a personal house. And this is in your house of hopes and dreams, the 11th house. So this is an interior job. This is, may not be obvious to the outside world. It may be more on the interior, world, which I think, sets the tone for everything else. Okay, so let's now move to the 20th, where we will see Mars move into your first house and make an exact trine to Pluto in Aquarius in your 9th house. Now, let's move to a little later in the day. He's at the 29th degree. I think if I go 3 p.m., there we go. The 0 degree is, the purest form of that sign's energy. And the trine here between these planets, Mars and Pluto, are the co-ruler of Scorpio. Scorpio is the deepest psychological imprint, where fear grips us, holds us back, where it gives people power and control through money, through sex. Somehow they control us, and they can, or our fears can control us. It's also a sign where, they call it the occult, but where esoteric concepts can free us. And I think that this is an opportunity on this day to be super brave in our reflection. Both of these are air signs. Both of them, this is ruling my future. This rules my past, meaning Gemini rules my childhood. And I just feel like we're about to walk into a full moon in Capricorn the next day. And the moon will be conjunct at 29 degrees Pluto. So there's our ones again. On this day, as Mars moves into Gemini. Oh, and let me mention this. Mars, I really, really believe, and I think I said this when I started talking about the conjunction, in this moment, as Mars is moving towards Jupiter, and it could, it's a polarizing dynamic. But here, the higher vibrations of Mars are wanting to demonstrate these new spiritual beliefs, these new ideologies that are starting to. Mars was here for 7 months. So now it's traversed the whole zodiac, experienced all these energies, and now it's getting a chance to once again go into the neighborhood, into the community, into the monkey mind, and be brave in its thoughts. And this is supported by Uranus. And not just Uranus's conjunction to Mars, but Uranus's sextile to Neptune as we apply our spiritual tools, and then the Neptune sextile to Pluto. Just, I think it's pretty lovely. Okay. Oh, and just on this day as well, we see here's Venus now at 11 degrees of Leo, and the sun is at 28 degrees. There's our ones again. They're just all over this month. This whole month is riddled with ones. And how are you thinking, and how are you focusing, and are you letting the disruption pull you under, or do you see some divinity in it somewhere? Okay, let's go to the next day, where we see our second full moon in Capricorn. And this is going to be at 3:17 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know if I mentioned this or if you saw the post I did, but I have already done these videos one time. And as I'm recording them, I realize Spirit, there's a very good reason why the first ones were deleted, because now these ones are just really offering opportunities, because as Pluto retrogrades into Capricorn, it is going to illuminate the fears, the limitations, the restrictions that no longer apply. And those that keep trying to hang on to the past will feel, engulfed by it. And yet those that are embracing the future will see something very different happen. So I think this is so powerful. Capricorn ruling government, authority, that sort of feeling of duty and obligation. It's not about me, it's about everybody else but me. And I think that one of the epiphanies is the trine between Pluto and Mars. Well, what if it isn't about me? I mean, about them. What if it is about me? What if serving me actually makes me better for them and whatever they want for me? During this full moon, so what I think happened is at the end of June, when we had that early degree Capricorn full moon, it was an illumination, but also the beginning of a process of awareness. And that awareness is, how do I incorporate that Capricorn energy rather than fearing it or trying to stave it off? And the key to that is the new moon in Cancer, planting the seeds for what comes from the deepest part of your soul, your intuitive knowing, your inner voice, what heals you, what nourishes you. And then this second moon is going to illuminate another layer. And that layer is very much about something emotional for you, something that's very much connected to your ninth and eighth house energy, because the eighth house is power and control over us as well. When we think about that, other people's money, when we have rich people and they're going to, daddy's going to give us money, sometimes we don't always push ourselves forward because we have a safety net, or maybe the government gives us money, this Capricorn energy. So it could be, and I'm not saying it's about money, it's just sort of this idea that whatever has power and control over you, or that stokes your fears, is going to have that second opportunity for illumination and then incorporation. And all of that comes from the idea of my awareness of my thoughts. And my thoughts are things. My thoughts are creating things. So now let's go to the sun in Leo, where the sun will have its opposition to Pluto. So we go from Mercury having the opposition about how I think, and how I think unconsciously, what sits underneath. Same thing with Venus is, her self-worth, her talents. And now the sun, how do I project my ambition out there into the world? How do I assert myself as a leader? The sun is in moving into its rulership. And in doing so, it's lighting up the firehouses. While there's no planets in Sagittarius right now, it's still lighting, it's still going to make favorable aspects to inspiration, to ideas being birthed. And I think those ideas are more of an emotional nature, and an awareness of the things that Gemini wants that maybe your self-talk has prevented. You didn't realize it before. I use this example all the time because most of us grow up in households that's, or I don't know, maybe I'm just revealing my age, but money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees, which sends a vibration that money is hard and arduous. And that, isn't necessarily true, because people who think money comes to them effortlessly truly experience that. So here we see Mercury, a ruling planet, in a quincunx, a blind spot to Neptune, and almost in an opposition, will be pretty soon. But in this moment, Mercury's mind, the mind is taking over your spirituality. The mind is superseding whatever the heart wants. And the square is to be brave enough to take action and to liberate yourself. And here we see Mars at that 1 degree. And we see that Mercury is at 27 degrees, which reduces down to well, it's a 9, but it's also the Gemini degree. So an awareness of your own monkey mind and how it blindsides you from the deeper truth within, which is that your thoughts are things and they're powerful co-creators. And when you implement that, you can turn the wound into a gift that keeps on giving in your 11th house of hopes and dreams that realize themselves later in life, usually the later chapters, because this is 11th house is co-ruled by Saturn. Okay. So now let's go to the 26th, where Mercury will move into its rulership of Virgo. Very different energy with Virgo, Mercury and Virgo. It will, I mean, we're at the end of the month, but we're heading into Mercury really kind of assessing. Again, there's still the quincunx to Neptune, but now we have a quincunx to Pluto as well, which is like a divine blind side. To me, it's almost like a yod, but and with a focal point being, am I willing to, because there's a feeling right here, Gemini, that inadvertently, after all the whole month of epiphanies of being aware of your thoughts, something triggers you into default behavior. You know, whatever the practical, logical, realistic process of Virgo requires will now come into play. Virgo is your 4th house of home. So we could see there could be more obligations around the house, around taking care of the house. And it keeps you from being able to really implement those more individualistic things. But I think that the tensions that Mars in your 1st house and then Uranus in your 12th house is stay the course, still take action for the self. You know, like almost as if your obligations with work may, you know, there's a, okay, 4th house is home, 4th house is Cancer energy. So there's giving, the mother giving. Now we layer the Virgo. I'm the servant. I'm the one who serves the greater picture. This is employees, employers. So there's a lot of duty in this particular dynamic of 4th house. And now here comes Mercury, super strong there, really pushing the practical nature of the logical nature of it. Creating a smoke screen from your transformation and your daily practices. So I want to encourage you to fight through that and continue to look to the future and put in those daily practices of talking to spirit, saying, thank you, you know, everything's working out for me. Being aware of am I, you know, am I letting the insurmountable stack of whatever it is, whether it's your bills or your obligations or your daily routine, am I letting that eclipse and overwhelm everything I've been being aware of and trying to integrate into my everyday life? So that's a little bit of a challenge. And now let's just go real quickly to the 31st. All the planets are, at least these 3 have, their oppositions are over. Now this is a little more fun, I will say. There could be some unexpected romance, I want to say, or an unexpected somebody coming back into your life, because Gemini, when I look at this square to Uranus and Venus rules Taurus. This is your 12th house. Then we see this is your 3rd house. For all we know, maybe you're going to what happened there? You're going to a party at a friend's house, or you're going to some sort of social event, something fun and entertaining, and something unexpected happens in the love department. And I like this little trine to the moon, even though, I'm sorry, sextile to the moon in your 1st house, although this isn't going to last very long, but it does feel rather interesting. And I think the unexpected nature of Uranus and the square and a half to the north node in your 11th house could, you know, just randomly, I don't know why I think you might run into somebody that you haven't seen in a while, or somebody that catches your eye or your interest. So the end of the month might be rather interesting. It will, you know, well, let me just click off of Venus for a minute. We still see that there's the trine from Pluto to Uranus, which is going to continue. Again, this is that soundtrack in the background. And I want to offer it this way because being a Gemini, you could float in and out of like faith and fear. And the retrograde and having Saturn, sort of hanging out at 18 degrees, that Virgo degree, in that 10th house could have work and obligations dampen your thinking that anything's ever really going to change or anything's going to shift. And I think that persevering through that a little bit through your daily practices. And I want to offer this because being such a busy and active sign, Spirit has shown me the shower is a great time to set your intentions. You can do two things at once. You can, clean your body and also kind of clean your emotional body as you think and speak of the future in the I am. I am experiencing the greatest love of my life. I am experiencing a flow of resources. I am experiencing the ease of my partnerships and my relationships in all ways. I think that'll be really powerful for you, Gemini. All right, that's it for me for the month of July. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I am available for readings, although right now I'm a little backed up, but not too far. And if you'd like to share, like, subscribe, comment, I would appreciate it. And join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we get the angels' advice for traversing the week ahead's transits. All right, Gemini, have a lovely July, and I'll see you in August.